Hey there! Welcome to the What's Your Thing podcast, where we're all about great conversations with interesting people.
That's right. I'm Brennan.
And I'm Caitlin.
There's something awesome about every person, a thing that makes them truly unique.
We want to know what it is about everyone, so we're asking,
What's your thing?
Once again, hello everyone. Welcome to the What's Your Thing podcast. We're back. My name is Brennan.
I'm Caitlin. Thank you for joining us again. Episode 29.
Episode 29. Yeah, we're flying through this. Caitlin, you might have to hop off, but you're on a bit of a trip, eh? Traveling once again?
I'm traveling once again. I'm heading to Toronto to the Canadian Screen Awards.
Climbing. Yeah, that's pretty cool. So we're gonna maybe do a follow-up. We'll see how that goes, but congratulations to you. That's pretty,
Thank you.
pretty special.
Nominated again. So really excited.
Yeah, it's flying like this. You're just climbing in the world. Pretty proud of you. And everybody, definitely let's root for Caitlin, and we'll see the results coming up shortly. But today we're pretty lucky because we have an awesome guest, another Ottawa person, a wicked Ottawa influencer who has amassed over 17K followers in the car scene. He is the director of the VE Car Group that we previously spoke to in the B&QA podcast, and he has informed us about Ottawa being one of the biggest car influencer kind of cities in the world. So please, I want to recommend you check out his Instagram, and we're going to welcome Jeff, who is at oldspoon_M3 on Instagram. And we're going to jump right into it. Jeff, hey, how's it going?
Really good. Thanks for having me on, Brendan and Caitlin. And I'm looking forward to it. I was listening to your podcast for the first time last week with Bean. And I thought it was just an awesome topic because you kind of mentioned it in your introduction, but Ottawa of all places is actually this little, almost like this little ecosystem of influencers in the car world. And it's really weird because you would think a lot of influencers in the community would be in like California, LA, Florida, Miami, places like that. But if all you do is kind of branch off from my Instagram page, you will actually the two most followed BMW M3 people, influencers on Instagram, both live in Ottawa, which is absolutely crazy to think because we only drive our cars like 4 months out of the year, but they have two of the biggest followings on social media. And there's a lot of other people too that fall in that category. So since I got back into the car community about 3 or 4 years ago, right during the pandemic, I've been blown away about how big our small town is in the world of social media.
I think it's crazy because I was in Florida in January, and it is insane how many cars you see down there that are just like these, like a BMW or something, like a high end. And then you're absolutely right with Ottawa having such a limited season. It is kind of like, I feel like when you see a nice car, you're like, oh, look at that car, that's sweet.
Yeah,
and it surprises me that Ottawa would be one of those communities. What is it about it? What do you think?
So I think I think the quality of builds here, and I think that's kind of like we'll kind of talk about, or we may talk about sort of language or what words are used in the community now, but people are literally building their cars, and not in the literal sense if you're taking bolts to pieces of metal and painting your own car or whatever, but the quality of build here in Ottawa has been really, really high. So we have people using the best of the best parts and using the best of the best vendors to assemble their builds. And I think because we have such a limited time to drive our car, we also have that whole off season, usually starting late October, early November, all the way until late April, early May, where we can just work on our cars. So they could be in someone's garage, it could be amassing parts, but we've got 6 months off every single year that we can focus on recreating or creating new cars for the following season. So I think that's an advantage. I mean, a disadvantage because we can only drive for a few months out of the year, but it's something unique to Canada is we have that time off, or that off season we call it, where you can actually work on your car.
It sounds like a very healthy hobby to have in the winter too. It could be. It sounds like it could be an expensive hobby too, though.
It's a really expensive hobby for sure. But what I tell a lot of people is, outside of your house, your cars are your second biggest investment that you're going to make. So when I see people that just use their cars, going from point A to point B, to get groceries or run errands or whatever, and they don't take care of it. Sometimes I ask my question, I wonder what their home is like. I mean, this is the second largest or second most expensive thing you're going to buy, or for most of us that we're going to buy in our lifetime. And I things that are expensive that I buy, I like to take care of them. I consider them an investment. So and the thing about cars is, they can't really be seen as an investment, because the minute you take the keys, you lose value. So to me, you should try to do everything you can to keep the value as high as possible.
Well, looking at your Instagram, it definitely looks like you're an M3 guy. It
Yes,
looks
I
like
am.
your
Yeah.
cars are pretty sick. How do you even like these videos are unreal. They're so crisp, they're so clean. How do you do this? Tell us about your thing. Like that's wicked. It almost
Yeah,
looks.
so
I wasn't sure. I'm not lying to you. I'm sitting beside my wife and I'm scrolling through and I'm like, am I watching Gran Turismo on like high def, or am I watching like someone actually filming cars? This is crazy.
Yeah, technology has come a really long way. So a lot of the videos recently on my Instagram are of me and my buddies on the highway, and I'm just kind of filming them with my camera. And I think what's happened is technology has come so far that we don't have to have someone hanging out the side of a car with a a high definition camera to do this stuff anymore. DJI is the product that I use the most, and I literally just suction cup a camera to the outside of my car and then set up tracking or auto tracking, and the camera and the AI in the camera does all the work for me. Then we have to edit it and do all that kind of stuff. I mean, you and Caitlin probably know the magic doesn't happen on the camera, it happens behind the camera after after you do editing and all that kind of stuff. And that's the way it is in the hobby. Any photography or videography, for every hour, for every minute that you have on film, it's probably taking you an hour to get it to where you want in post production. So a lot of the magic happens in post. But yeah, technology has come such a long way that I can literally just suction cup a camera to the outside of my car, and we can put together those videos in a couple hours.
For us, like we can shoot an entire Christmas movie in 3 weeks, but it's 21 weeks of post minimum to get
Yep.
it to, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did you get into it? Like, how did you become, like, how did your passion lead you to becoming one of the biggest influencers in this space?
So I was, and I gotta say, like, I'm definitely not one of, I'd say, a moderately sized. I'm definitely not a big influencer, but I'm doing better than a few. I was always into cars, and when I was a teenager. If you walked into my bedroom, you would see on my walls just pictures of cars everywhere. Brennan kind of talked about it. Like Gran Turismo was a game that I played when I was young. I was always in and around cars. My dad wasn't really a car guy, but he loved taking care of his cars. So I kind of got that on the DNA side, or that the nurtured part of me, as I saw my dad taking care of his cars. So I bought my first car to me, like with my own money, my own loan, and stuff like that, when I was just out of high school. And then I started modifying it right away. I put wheels on it, I lowered it, I put a stereo in it. And back in the 90s, it was all about, in Ottawa, it was all about car stereo. So that's where we spent the majority of our money, was in car stereo. And Ottawa back then, for anybody over the age of 35, will probably remember that we used to meet at Bank in Alta Vista. There's an independent grocer there, which is where we used to meet. And that's what people did, is they built their cars to go to that Friday night meet every Friday. And then we do some other things that I will not talk too much about. I don't want to land myself in trouble, but
That's legit. Anyone over 35 will kind of get it.
yeah, that's right. So that was my first build. And then, like, life kind of hits you, and you realize you can't be driving a lower car in the winter, or you're just going to destroy the thing. You start your family, your priorities change, you buy your first house, you have your first kid, you get married, and I thought that it was legitimately out of my system. Like I was like, oh, that's a thing from the past, and I got into to other hobbies. And then during the pandemic, my wife and I did really well during the pandemic. Like we saved a lot of money, we made some financial decisions, and I said, I think what I want to do with some of that is I want to go out and buy a car. And that's where the M3 came. During the pandemic, like right before the pandemic, car prices were actually still kind of like reasonable. During the pandemic, something crazy happened, and cars actually started to appreciate. I have friends who bought cars at, X amount of dollars, and now they've driven the car for 3 or 4 years. They can sell it for more than they bought it for. They just, there was this pocket of time where things were affordable, and obviously during the pandemic, we were stimulated through low interest rates and high home values. Like, it gave people a lot of accessibility to money. And I think once you kind of, if you didn't have a lot of debt, if your house was in good shape and you didn't have to do anything crazy, I think a lot of people took that opportunity to buy a car, and I fell into that. Yeah, so I bought my car during the pandemic. My wife and I drove to Toronto actually to go pick it up. And then, right off from day one, I started trying to make it my own. And I think that's what's special about the car community is you have this opportunity to take this really, big purchase that you've made, just like your house, and you try to make it your own. And like, you take what you like from other people, but all the cars in Ottawa are like an extension of people's personality and pieces of art. That's the way that I look at them.
That's pretty cool. And like the next thing I wanted to ask you, especially like you're a family person, you got a car, whatever.
Yeah.
How do you find like obviously weather's a challenge in Ottawa?
Yeah.
Finding time is going to be challenging. Are you able to do this? Is the Ottawa community, like you were talking about, it's one of the biggest communities? Are they well organized too and well structured? I know I talked to Bean and he right away sent this one show,
Yeah.
kind of meetup they were having, and it was pretty cool. Does that help you?
Yeah, for us, like, for me, when it comes to weather, I don't mind driving in the rain. Like, if I'm on a road trip going somewhere, or something like that, like, you can't avoid it sometimes. You're out and it starts to rain or whatever the case. The real punch in the gut is having to clean your car after it's rained. So, like, all the dirt gets up in your wheels, and you go out and drive for 10 minutes in the rain, you're going to be washing your car for 2 hours the next time you get a chance. So, like, it's not that I avoid the rain. Like, my car's paint isn't made out of sugar. Like, it's going to be fine. It's ceramic coated. Like, it does well in the rain, but it's the detailing afterwards that is for me why I try to stay away from it. Now, if it was my only car and you have no choice, well, you have no choice. But what I like seeing about people who are out there in the rain or in bad weather, when it's cold, when it's super hot or whatever, I like that because it shows people are being, enthusiastic about it. When I see a meet get put together on a rainy Friday night and there's pictures that come in through Instagram and there's 20, 30 people there, I'm like, yeah, these are the hardcore, boys and girls that are going to continue the passion going forward. They might not have the means to drive what we have right now, but that passion will carry into the future for sure.
Probably get some pretty sick pictures on those nights too.
Man, rainy pictures are awesome. Detailing a car afterwards is not awesome.
I believe that.
Yeah.
So you're involved in this organization. You have this Instagram account that's doing well.
Yep.
I know that this is like a passion base, but like, where would you like to go with it?
That's a really good question. I mean, VE, the organization that I'm one of the 9 directors for it. We're kind of like-minded people, and we all became friends through the car community. And what we realize is there's actually an opportunity to bring people together and to raise money for charity. So every event that we do either supports a local business or supports a local charity. One of the things we did, for example, last year or 2 years ago, I think one of our biggest events was we were able to partner with the Museum of Aviation. And they had a couple of planes out on the tarmac that they were waiting to put into storage. And we were able to bring in cars and take pictures in front of the planes, and also bring in a very limited amount of cars into the Museum of Aviation to do pictures inside. And what we did is we sold tickets to that. With your ticket, we took a picture of your car. So we used it to pay for photography and obviously rent the space, but everything over and above, we donated back to the museum to use towards our charity. And we raised just over $3,000 for the museum in a matter of 4 hours in one event. So it just shows you the power when the community comes together for good things and has their minds in the right spot. And Bean kind of talked about it in his podcast. He talked about his disappointment of the takeover scene and sort of where things are going. I totally agree with him. I think I think if we, just like anything, like any hobby, any group, if you focus your minds in the right spots, you can do a lot of good. But there's obviously always a small percentage of people who are not looking to do good. So we're trying to change that as much as we can. But it's hard to fight social media. It's hard to fight when someone does a donut in the middle of an intersection and you see 100 people run out there with their cell phone cameras,
Yeah.
and that's what they're posting to social media. It's hard to fight that stuff off.
What do you like now that you've promoted some of the charity gigs and all that? Tell us more. Like,
Yeah.
what shout outs do you want to give? What do you want people to
Yeah,
know about?
so our next event is actually in Perth, So, 40 minutes drive west of Ottawa. We're working with the Perth BIA to do a show in downtown Perth. So we have a couple of streets closed off where our cars will be down there, and they're gonna have, all the restaurants and shops will be open. There's gonna be outdoor vendors. It's like a summer market down in Perth. So if you got nothing going on June 8th, and Perth is a beautiful town, come down and see us there. We're working with Science and Tech to do an event similar to what we did at Aviation.
When's that going on?
We're planning for kind of late July, early August, when we have long days, because we're doing a similar type of concept where we're going to take pictures in front of like trains and some of their museum assets. So we want because we realize with any moving vehicle, there's an inherent danger. You know, anything can happen when there's something moving. So in the summer, the museums run camps, and we don't want to be moving cars and positioning cars while there's kids running around. So we have to wait for the camps to close. That limits our time to after 6. So we kind of need those long nights where we can get a lot of sunlight, just to get in as many people as possible. And the Museum of Science and Tech, or the Ingenium Foundation, is trying to start a scholarship specifically for people to get into auto work, into working on engines and that type of stuff. So we're kind of using that as a way to raise money to help them. Anything that we raise, so VE is actually a nonprofit, so we can't carry any profit from year to year. We have to spend every dollar. Yeah, so every dollar that we spend outside our expenses of having to rent spaces or purchase insurance or whatever the case is, every dollar we make goes back into the community somehow.
That's sweet. That's really good to know. I can't make the June 8th one, but I do want to be a part of that one. I want to come out and check that out because that sounds absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, bring some stuff. We'll do a live podcast there if you want.
That
I'd
would
be
be
more than
sick.
happy to have you. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I just feel like it's like you said, it's one of the biggest communities in Ottawa. It is kind of like I was never growing up, like I was terrified of cars. I had, you know how it is. You're either the guy that jumps in there on the engine and you go to work, or I was the one that was watching like two relatives work on a car, cursing, and I'm like, there's no way I'm going near that, because if I touch that, they're gonna be like, you're doing that wrong. And it's too bad because it became intimidating. But it's pretty handy to know what you're doing when you come to cars. And then like I really like what you said about that, how it's like every piece is like an artwork, because I don't think people appreciate that. Like I'm looking at the background of your car right now, and that looks pretty friggin' shiny.
Oh yeah, you can kind of see it there. Yeah.
How do you pick that color?
The color I hated when I first got it. I had a couple of things when I was looking for the car. Obviously, I bought it used, so it needed to have a couple of things. There was a couple of specific pieces I was looking for, and one, like there's the typical things, like you want the mileage to be low. You don't want there to be an accident on the car. Preferably, you'd want a car that was previously leased, because people have to keep up with the maintenance and all that stuff. So I had a list of things, and I gave all of the BMW dealerships here in Ottawa my list of requirements. I went as far as Montreal and Toronto and some up. What's that?
Were you going M3 or like the whole way?
I was going M3.
Like, oh,
yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, because I've had a couple BMWs before, and kind of M3, when you're into BMWs, when you get into an M car, you've kind of reached the top of what you can get within BMW.
And
so that was always the goal. Yeah. So anyways, this a BMW dealer in Oakville one day finally called this, and I started my search, probably took about a year and a half, but finally the call came in. We have everything you're looking for, but the car's orange. And I'm like, oh man, what do you mean like orange? You mean like they're like, it's orange, it's really orange. And so I said, well, send me some pictures and I'll take a look at it. And then, they came in, everything was there that I wanted it to have. The price was right. They're willing to do a deal. And I said, you know what? In the worst case scenario, if I really hate the color, I'll either wrap it, so you can change the color of your car through vinyl wrapping, or I'll just repaint it, the worst case scenario. But it ended up being probably one of the best decisions, because my wife says it all the time. She says that that color you don't see around very much.
That's what I'm thinking as I'm looking in the background. Like it's standing out, right?
Yeah, you don't see it very much, and she said it's become a part of your identity with the car now. So it, like it's just kind of, it molded into its own kind of thing.
Every car's a personality. What have you done?
Every car's personality.
What have you done? Have you done any like maintenance yourself on the car to change it, like made it more you, versus when you bought it?
Yeah, I mean, the easiest thing is to jump onto my Instagram page. You'll kind of see all the stuff that I did, but I did the typical stuff. So you lower the car a little bit to make
Yeah.
it look a little bit more aggressive. You add some parts on the outside of the car, like side skirts and a front lip, just to make the car overall look lower. And then wheels are probably going to be your biggest purchase there, because you're not only buying the rims, but you actually have to buy the rubber that goes around it too. So that's one of your biggest investments. And then it's little things from there, things you do to make the engine look a little bit nicer, things on the interior to make the interior look nicer.
And this is all
Um,
you?
no, God, no.
I was
I
gonna
mean,
say,
no,
how,
whatever I can do on my own, I will try. But there's obviously, like, if it has to do with, if there's anything electric, I won't touch it. There's just a lot that can
sure.
go wrong.
Now,
Anything on the motor, I definitely won't touch. But I have a warranty on the car until the end of next year. So
okay.
I don't want to mess with anything that will, I spent a good chunk of money to buy that warranty, so I don't want to do anything that'll void it.
How's Ottawa for accessibility to modifications and stuff like that? Like, is it pretty good? Like, you have
Yeah,
Montreal, you have Toronto. There is Ottawa pretty reasonable for people getting what they want? They're doing mods to a car, or do you kind
I
of
would say for whatever you want to do, whether it's cosmetic or it's engine related, there's enough shops, and they're all spread out. There's from there's shops in Carp, in Canada, and what I would say for anyone who's looking to do it, if you have a garage that you trust, it doesn't hurt to ask them whether the garage will do it for you, because a lot of this stuff, Brendan, is just, it's just two-sided tape and screws. Like,
yeah, okay.
there's not a lot that goes into it. There's obviously some things that are more complicated than others, but I would say 90% of the mods you're going to do, uh an apprentice or a mechanic would be comfortable doing it for you.
I respect that. My wife's a baker, and everyone can bake a cupcake, but it's hard to make it look nice, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
because I'm looking
Yeah.
at some of the stuff like that you posted, and it's just like, I don't know. Even the editing, like, is that you guys, or is that your friends, or
Yeah.
is that you doing that?
Ottawa's got a huge community of photographers, a lot of young photographers that are passionate about cars, and they put their passion with cars and photography together. And we've built this community of probably 20, 30 people who
That's cool.
are making money on the side, just doing pictures and doing all the editing and all that stuff. For me, I've always been into video. I've always been in photography, like at the hobbyist level. And then I realized, to keep your content up on social media, you got to be posting every day. And I'm sure you probably saw it too in starting the podcast. You
Yeah,
have to invest
yeah,
into some things to get yourself started. So I had the choice to make. If I was going to take the social media thing seriously, I was going to be hiring photographers to do pictures for me, or I had to teach it to myself. And I took the other route. I'm like, I'm just going to teach myself, because then I can just do it myself. Or I'm going to have to pay a photographer $50 a shot, $20 a shot, whatever it is, just to keep my social media presence going. You just jump onto Instagram and follow any photographer in Ottawa, and you'll come across, there's probably 10, 15 people active, like out there shooting every day, doing shoots with people every day, video every day. Like, there's a really good support system for social media stuff if you want it.
well, that would be my next thing, is like, is there anyone you want to shout out, or like, like we talked about the VE car group, we've got all the charity events. Is there anything else that you want to put out there that people who maybe are new coming in, like, being like, hey, this has always interested me, but I don't even know where to begin. I didn't know Ottawa had a big car scene.
Yeah,
And
I think the easiest thing is, if you have social media, find me there, find anybody
yeah,
there.
I'm new to cars. I don't really know much, but I thought it was pretty sick, pretty slick. And you've
Yeah,
got your friends on there too.
that's it. And it kind of just looks like an org chart at any company. You click on one person, you can figure out who works with them and all around, and you kind of just follow. Like the thing with Ottawa is that there's, Bean kind of talked about it too. I think there's sort of distinct pockets of people. You've got, you kind of got us in VE. We're older, family oriented. We've got a little bit more money now, so we can spend a little bit more on our cars. We do different things like, when I was younger, going on a road trip and staying with my buddies overnight, and I'd have to save up for 6 months of my part-time job just to go to Toronto for the weekend. Now I'm fortunate to be, full-time employed. I'm fortunate that my wife has a good job and I have a good job. If we want to go out on the weekend and spend a weekend in Quebec City or Toronto, like, we can do that. And our group does a lot of those things. Um, but I mean, there's pockets everywhere. And I think for anyone, you're going to find your pocket. You're going to find the people you relate to the most. The only advice I would give that's semi controversial is like Bean said it. You've got that they call the takeover culture. It's that culture of, I think we live in a society now where everyone's looking for their 15 minutes of fame. They're looking for that that 30-second TikTok video where they get out 1.5 million views, and it's, someone doing a donut somewhere, and you see it. All you got to do is go on to YouTube and you see a lot more crazier stuff than you see cinematic videos and things. Those are things that get attention, and I really do wish things were different.
I wonder if
Because
it's just being useful too. Like, I mean, like, I'm looking
yeah,
at it now, like you were saying, like, it's an investment, right? Like, it's the thing outside your home that you spend the most time. And I couldn't imagine,
yeah,
like, I had to replace a tie rod end on my car a little while
yeah,
ago, and I'm like, oh man, this is like hitting the wallet. It's like the last thing I want to do is go mess with my car
yeah.
and pick it up.
A lot of that stuff puts people in danger.
Yeah,
It's dangerous for the driver. It's dangerous for anybody looking. You can lose control of a car very, very easily. And if you're not experienced behind the wheel and know how to get it under control, you could easily hurt somebody or kill somebody. And the other thing, which I never understood the psychology of this, but the takeover culture is all about this attention seeking, look at me, I'm doing all this crazy stuff. But if all of our meets get shut down by the police, because Ottawa's a small city, the parking lots where we're able to park right now, we're surrounded by homes. Eventually, if I lived in any one of those communities, I'm good with people chilling out until 11 midnight 1. But if all I'm hearing is screeching tires and people going crazy, like, even me as an enthusiast, I'm going to call the police and say I want this stuff shut down.
yeah,
Or, my son is 14, so in a couple of years going to start driving. I don't want him driving. If he's going to be out at 11 o'clock, 11:30 on a Friday night, I'm going to be worried if this is what's going on in the community, because he could potentially get hit by another driver. So it's funny how people are doing this stuff because they want that audience, but if this scene gets shut down, they're not going to have an audience. So
exactly.
it's a really strange connection, strange dichotomy that exists in the community today.
We've talked a bit about Ottawa. Like, what do you do for traveling? Are you doing any more of that lately, or
Yeah,
what?
I mean, so yeah, every year my wife and I, we take a vacation, obviously. So I tried to start the travel stuff on YouTube, but that's a
Yeah,
real
it's hard, eh?
that's
We're
that's tough.
we're living
Yeah.
it. Yeah, that's another thing. Yeah, if you want to shout out the YouTube channel, definitely, because I did check that out, and you've got some cool content all around. The
Yeah.
travel,
I'm trying to find my way, trying to find my what do you call it? My niche, or my aesthetic on YouTube. I'm still kind of working on that, but what I told myself this year versus previous years, I've tried to start this YouTube thing for years, is I'm just going to post. And if it if
that's
it
kind
gets
of what we're doing.
attention, it gets attention. Yeah.
That's what we're doing, and honestly, it's we're just having fun doing it. To be
Yeah.
honest with you,
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. We get to talk to people like yourself, and it is, and also, like, that's the best part is, like, you think like, oh, we were going to talk to, like, I think a lot of people see the face of, like, oh, you're an influencer with a lot of followings, but they may be just going based off the Instagram quick look. They don't know that you guys are doing wicked things for charity and stuff like that. Like, that aviation museum thing sounds wicked. First in Old Town, it's got a beautiful downtown scene. I think you guys are going to get some pretty sick shots there. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
this is our fourth year with working with Perth.
I'm
So
gonna
we've
check
gone
that out.
down every summer for the last 4 years, and we've developed a really close relationship with Perth. And
Cool.
our first show, they were a little nervous. They're going to close down some streets, and we're going to have a bunch of cars parked out there. But we tell every organization we work with, we're not there to do anything crazy. We're there to park and have people enjoy the cars that we buy, and answer questions and talk to people and help bring business to wherever you are. And that's where we started. Our first events used to be if you're a small business in Ottawa and you want to kind of do a grand opening and you want 30, 40 really cool cars to come out to your opening to help draw people in, we would do that. And then things just kind of just expanded from there. And the charity work we do now is probably our most valuable work.
And it gives you such a, like, it's, you get to do something good with your passion. I love that. I absolutely think that's the coolest thing, because, you know, people are going to come out, and it's like you said, there's always a few bad apples in every crowd, regardless of whatever topic it is. But you guys are countering that with, like, you know, it's kind of, I'm glad people are hearing about that, because that really makes it. I didn't even know about the small business opening thing, because can people just shout out at you on Instagram? They're listening to this and they're like, hey, I'm going to open a small business.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, whatever it is, as long as there's a clean parking lot somewhere that we can park, and you're ready for a Friday night where potentially 150, 200 people could come out. You know, if you're ready and you want to do something like that, we're totally open to it. That's where we, you know, we all of our members, especially our directors, there's 9 of us now. We've all benefited from people supporting us in our lives, and like I said, we've all been very fortunate. So it's I think it's a part of our DNA to give back. If we're just doing this selfishly for ourselves, then, you know, it doesn't really mean anything.
And that's the difference between you and the 15-second TikTok speedsters, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, like, in the long run, everybody gets older, and those cars become a little bit more valuable. So I think people are going to lean towards that.
That's it.
Well, we like to ask, because I know when we first opened our communications, you said you're kind of like, you got a lot going on. If I'm allowed to say this, you said you were a self-proclaimed geek and you love everything from Disney to gaming. Last question we like to ask our guests is, now that we know about your thing, what's something else about you that you maybe are willing to share with everybody?
Yeah, so I'm a total geek.
That's cool.
You know, the guy, you know, video gaming, all that stuff. I would say the thing I'm geeking out the most on right now, and this is probably a topic for a whole other podcast if you wanted to do it.
Absolutely.
But there's this game called Disney Lorcana. It's a card game. Have you ever heard of Magic the Gathering?
Yeah, for sure.
So it's basically Magic the Gathering, but in the world of Disney. Anyways,
Really?
my best friend got into it a few months back. Like, it just started last November is when Disney released the game. You know, you see me in my car and you think, you know, you probably have an idea of where I spend some more of my free time. But some of my free time every week is actually spent in game stores playing this card game with other people who enjoy this card game. And there is a whole other subculture of gaming in Ottawa that I didn't realize existed. I mean, there's people literally playing this game every night. They're just bouncing between store to store, you know, playing this game, traveling to other cities to compete in major competitions. The money, Brennan, that can be made in this thing is unreal. I mean, a single card could sell for upwards of $500-600. Like, it's absolutely bananas, this subculture I've learned about with this card game.
I'm surprised I haven't heard of this, just because, like, everyone can relate to all these characters. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, who doesn't know Disney? Whether you're 75 or whether you're 5, you know Disney.
Yeah. And that's why I got into it. I love Disney. I love Disney. I have a picture in my basement of me literally, like, molesting Mickey Mouse when I saw him at Disneyland. Like, I cut the line, I jumped on the dude, the security was trying to pull me off of him, and one of the photographers thought it was hilarious and snapped a picture of me doing it. So I bought that when I was in Disney, like, a long time ago. But yeah, I've always been a Disney fan. But anyways, this thing came out, and I just it's crazy how addictive the game is, how fun it is. You would never think a car guy would be into a card game and hanging out with you know, with teenagers, and young, you know, well, people of all ages, but, you know, mainly like younger kids at game stores playing this game, you know, once a week or twice a week or whatever.
Hey, it's better than there's a lot of worse things that people can be up to than playing games. I gotta ask you, you're a video game fan. Have you watched the new Fallout show?
I haven't.
Check it out.
I've been busy editing a lot of this. I've probably got 6 or 7 cars that I've done videos for that I haven't edited yet. So I'm kind of trying to spend my nights to get those videos out. I've been kind of really doubling down on my learning video this year. So that's where a lot of my free time has been spent. You're seeing the fruits of it on my Instagram, though.
No, absolutely. And I encourage everybody to check that out. Again, it's at oldspoon_M3. Jeff, thanks for coming on. That's pretty
for
sweet.
sure.
And yeah,
it's fun.
Definitely please like give us all the information for any events upcoming because we're gonna post it. And unfortunately that's too bad because I do love Perth as a town. Especially I didn't know it was your 4th year. It
Yeah.
would have been something I want to check out, but when that Museum of Science comes out, I want to be there.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it'll be awesome to have you.
Yeah, and again, I'm not absolutely not against at all having you on again to talk about the Disney Lore Canada. Like you see, maybe my wife would check it out. She's a big Disney fan. I got a little guy. Eventually, he loves to play games, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with playing games. There's a lot worse that people can be doing.
Yeah, I think your podcast is awesome because honestly, I think if as long as people are comfortable coming on talking about the things that the things that they may be afraid that are going to be socially unaccepted or socially weird, I think we get to know a lot. There'd be a lot more things people can sink their teeth into.
Oh,
'Cause
100%.
like I said,
And I appreciate you saying that because, and if there's anybody who is listening that like, just email, just shout out like, hey, I want to come on. I don't like, we want to hear about everything. If you have a niche, tell me about it. That's what this whole thing
yeah,
is about. And I love it. I absolutely love it. And that's why I want to say thanks again for coming on. And we'd love to have you back.
yeah,
Have another chat. There's all
for
sorts
sure.
of stuff. Can we see your car in the back before we go?
Yeah, it should be able to. I mean, you can kind of get
Those rims look sick.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you got
so
a
there
nice
it is.
setup
But
there in the garage. It looks pretty sweet in there.
hey, it's an Amazon garage, man. Like the majority of the stuff that I have in here is all from Amazon. Like the lighting's from Amazon. Just like anything, you get into any hobby, and then it doesn't just stop at the thing. It starts to envelop things around it. So, the same thing happened to me. It started the car, and my garage was very simple before. Then it just has expanded into this nonsense. And I
Well,
don't even have nearly the nicest garage in town, or nowhere near. There's some garages that are worthy of like magazine photo shoots in town. It's unbelievable what some guys have done with their garages.
we got time. You'll get there.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Well, thanks again for coming on episode 29. That was absolutely awesome. And please check out oldspoon_M3. You've got some great content. And yeah, we'll
Appreciate it.
definitely. I want to come out and I want to see you guys in your group. I absolutely love what you guys do for the community. So shout out to the VE Car Group guys. Check them out. And if you see any charity events and you want to help them out, let's get on it. And
Yeah,
thanks for
that'd be
coming
great.
on.
Yeah, for sure,
And,
Brandon. It was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Good chatting with you.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Jeff. And that's it, guys. Episode 29. And if you have something you want to share with us, we want to know what's your thing.
So make sure to check us out, whatsyourthingpod.com. Check us out on Instagram, YouTube, follow us on TikTok. Check us out. We're going to have a blast. What's your thing?
What's she been?